You're listening to The Gary Harris Show on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa.
Hiring and pharmaceutical increasing costs for the shortfall. Click TuscaloosaThread.com for more local news. It's free all throughout the day. Don Hartley, Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
The Gary Harris Show. UCM host Tider Insider TV. Crimson Tide Kickoff. Play-by-play for Alabama sports and sports director for WVUA 23. It's time for the Gary Harris Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome into the Gary Harris Show for this Monday, August 12, 2024. I'm your host, Gary Harris. Wyatt Fulton this time with us as Chase has got a little time off. Wyatt's on the other side of the glass. I heard Barry say it. Wyatt's in for a long one today. These are what you call your earning your stripes days in the radio business. He's been in here since before 6 a.m. this morning, going to be up here all the way up until 6 o'clock tonight. So y'all think about Wyatt. Plus, he's got to squeeze his own show in there at 11 a.m. So if you're out and about and you are on Skyland Boulevard and you want to pick Wyatt up some lunch and swing it by, I'm not saying that you should. I'm just saying, but if you thought about it and wanted to bring him by a couple of hamburgers or something around midday, I bet he'd appreciate it. Just a thought, for those folks out there that are running around today. Wyatt, right off the top here, before we do anything else, I knew, because I work on campus. I work in the stadium, and obviously I see, the sororities starting to come back in and get ready for rush, and I saw the activity on Saturday and Sunday for the weekend with the scrimmage and fan day. But I did not allow for the fact that it was going to be, the commute was going to be, I'm so used to just getting in here during the summer with, 7 minutes that caught me off guard a little bit this morning. I made it, but it was a tight squeeze. I was doing the old, come on, go, as the traffic was a lot heavier this morning, but it's going to be that way for a little while. And then particularly once school starts back, the first few days are going to be crazy. And then everything kind of gets, into a rhythm a little bit. But, the summer break, the easygoing, long days of summer without much traffic, those are going to be coming to an end. And as I said here later this month, when we start classes, it's really going to be nuts. But students are flocking back in. Everybody is moving in. So not only, we're also located right here on Skyland Boulevard, right next to U-Haul. And this has been going on now, what would you say, about the last 10 days or so? I mean, there's so many trucks coming in from other places. And of course, you move in, you drop your truck off at the local U-Haul. Usually on the little frontage road right in front of our station, trucks are just lined up from Sharks Fish and Chips all the way back down past U-Haul where they're bringing them in. So it's that time of the year. And this weekend, was it cold? Absolutely not. Okay. So I'm not trying to be dramatic here, but Saturday morning, yesterday morning, the humidity was down a little bit. Wyatt, I'm again, no nip in the air, but it was pleasant. It was a lot nicer than what it's been. You didn't walk out the door and immediately your shirt was drenched. There was a little breeze. It was kind of nice. You know what I'm saying?
It was for once in August in Central Alabama. It wasn't miserable. It didn't feel like we were, having to repent to the Lord for what we've been doing recently. It actually felt decent.
It was okay. But what a weekend. My gosh. I mean, just tracking it this weekend, we're going to get into that in just a moment. So much going on. Olympics wrapping up. What a race last night at Richmond. Wow. A lot of stuff. Braves blowing an 8-2 lead in the 8th. I mean, my gosh. Clearly, just a lot to cover, and we're going to get to all of that. First, though, I need to tell you this hour of the Gary Harris Show being brought to you, as always, by my good friends at Alabama Credit Union. Member-owned and not-for-profit, it really is just a better way of banking. Alabama Credit Union, I encourage you to go to their website, alabamacu.com, because you can find out just about everything you need to know, or you're more than welcome to stop by and see them at one of their many locations around the state of Alabama. Of course, their hub is right here in Tuscaloosa, but they've got locations all over the state and the panhandle of Florida. So I definitely would encourage you to get by and see them and find out for yourself the advantages of not-for-profit member-owned. It's just a huge difference. Alabama Credit Union, loans for real life. Some rules and restrictions do apply. See if you're eligible for membership. Then join today and feel good about your money. and put a little extra change in your pocket. All right, here's the lineup for today. It's our Monday lineup. Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com, Tider Insider TV, talking Bama football. We didn't get to watch the scrimmage, but you still find out some information. You know, Rodney's going to give us some info. He had a little notes package on it. And of course, yesterday was Fan Day. I did not go to Fan Day. I left that to the fans. I left it Saturday. I let them have it. But did go hear DeVore on Saturday for his post-scrimmage press conference, and we'll have that sound. Wyatt's already got it cut up into clips. We're going to get to that. Rodney Orr at 9:30. Then Casey Smith on golf at 10:30. The regular season is over. We're into the FedEx Cup playoffs. We'll take a look at that. We'll tell you how the Bama guys did, what Bama guys are in the playoff, what Bama guys didn't make it. We're going to recap that and look ahead to the playoff with Casey Smith at 10:30. As we said, Kalen DeBoer clips this morning from Alabama's first scrimmage. No practice today, and they deserve a day off. They went Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's 6 straight days of practice, including a scrimmage on Saturday. So a well-deserved day off. I heard Wyatt talking with Barry. Our media availability is going to start being cut back to some degree, which is okay. We've had more media availability in this first couple of weeks than we've had the last several seasons combined. All the practices since COVID have been closed. This year they've been opened back up. But this week we have tomorrow's practice is open, and you'll hear from defensive players and coaches. Wednesday's practice is closed, but you have offensive players and coaches. And then we've got one more open practice on Wednesday, August 21st. And then you wrap up fall camp at the end of that week, and you go into game week mode. And so things are going to be changing as the countdown to kickoff is on. What a weekend, Wyatt. As I said, we're going to get to Alabama scrimmage. We're going to get to Fan Day. We're going to talk all things Crimson Tide football with Rodney Orr. But the Olympics wrapped up. What an unbelievable couple of weeks, man. Like a lot of people, the opening ceremonies in the rain, even though it was quite a show, I think a lot of people weren't really pleased with some of the what they saw in the opening ceremonies. But the games themselves were incredible. And the closing ceremony, did you catch any of the closing ceremony, Wyatt?
I did not.
Wow. Let me tell you this. We know Tom Cruise is a movie star. That cat is 62 years old, I think, and he comes literally flying down from the roof of the stadium, and unbelievable closing ceremony. That part of it was pre-produced, and then he, enters the stadium. Then he leaves on a motorcycle. Then the next thing you know, he is parachuting out of a plane, and then he's in Los Angeles. And it's just crazy what all this guy did. The music was unbelievable. Of course, I'm big Red Hot Chili Peppers fan. They were back in Los Angeles to try to kick off 2028. You had once Tom Cruise arrived back stateside, he handed the flag off to a cyclist, and then she handed it off to a skateboarder. They rolled into the beach, and there was the Chili Peppers playing, and then Billie Eilish, and then Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre. What a show, man. So, final Olympic count. Folks, this is both really, really good and really, really not good. In that the United States won the total medal count with 126 medals by far and away. They beat China by 35 medals. But 40 of China's 91 were gold. 40 of the United States, 126 were gold. So you've got a situation where China tied the U.S. for gold medals. And what makes it even harder to handle a little bit is Shelby McEwen, Alabama long jumper, one of the best in the world. This was kind of a strange deal. If he accepts his gold medal, the U.S. wins the gold medal count. But Shelby McEwen and the long jumper from New Zealand tied. So what happens? Well, if both agree to take the gold medal, both get the gold medal. But the former Alabama long jumper, the New Zealand long jumper Hamish Kerr agreed to take the gold and let both have the gold. Shelby McEwen said, no, I want to jump off, which he has the right to do. Love his competitiveness. At the same time, a gold medal is a gold medal. And 5 years from now, is it really going to matter if you shared it? Well, he wanted to jump off and he lost. Now, he gets silver. He gets a silver medal, but he's 28 years old. Now, McEwen said that it was a mutual decision to compete in the jump off, but that's not what most people are reporting. Regardless, they had the jump off, and McEwen lost, and so instead of having 91 golds, the U.S. has 90 golds, as does China. Still, Wyatt, I mean, I know we've been covering Alabama football, and it's hard to kind of do too many things, but I got to tell you, some of this, whether it was the United States men's and women's basketball teams winning gold, United States with a dramatic semifinal game against Serbia, the women yesterday almost losing to France, to all the track and field events, to the women's volleyball getting toasted yesterday by Italy. It was an incredible Olympic Games, in my opinion.
It was great. You know, that may have been the best gold medal basketball game I saw in the men's side of things. Semifinal, too. The rest of the world is catching up with American
there's
basketball.
No doubt.
But in my opinion, yes, we want the USA to do good, obviously. But in my opinion, that makes for better games. That makes for better entertainment. It makes for better television. Now that you've got, Giannis playing for the Greek team. You've got Jokic playing for the Serbian team. You've got Wembanyama, who played out of his mind in that final game against the USA. And he's, going to be 5 years into the NBA next time when they play in Los Angeles in 2028. I'm excited to see where this goes. I'm a little nervous about Team USA because, you're going to lose LeBron, KD, Steph Curry. Who's going to be those next guys that step up and say, we're going to be the reason Team USA keeps winning gold?
Yeah, and in 4 years in Los Angeles, it's going to be great. Give you a quick stat on how it's changed with basketball. The 92 Dream Team, which I still think might be the best basketball team ever assembled, but they, how many NBA players they faced in the Olympics? They faced 4 NBA players. This time, every time the United States played, they were facing NBA players. Some of these teams had 8, 10 NBA players on their roster.
France alone had 3.
That's right. So you go from 4 total. All the NBA players on the United States Dream Team in 92 only faced 4 other NBA players. I mean, they rolled through that, man. They were beating teams 50 points. But now it is a lot different. Well, let me correct one thing on McEwen. I said long jump. It's the high jump. I mean, I was so wanting to talk about the fact that he didn't accept the gold so much that it was the high jump and not the long jump. But still, hey, a great Olympic Games for the United States. So now keep in mind, Russia was not there. And Russia would have been another one of these countries that had the potential to win a lot of medals, but Russia was not there. All right, let's get into some other topics before we hit the break. As we mentioned, Alabama football, we're going to break that all down for you. NFL exhibition football has begun everywhere you look. Bama in the NFL, once again making plays. Will Reichard with a walk-off game-winning field goal for the Vikings against the Raiders on Saturday. Miller Forrestall catches a game-winning touchdown pass for the Rams yesterday. And it was thrown by Stetson Bennett. So Georgia-Alabama connection there. So all of that going on. The Braves, as we mentioned, had an 8-2 lead going to the bottom of the 8th yesterday in Denver against the Colorado Rockies and gave up 7 runs. The Rockies didn't even have to bat in the bottom of the 9th. Unbelievable. I mean, you talk about a collapse. It's one thing to lose a 3 or 4 run lead, and even in Colorado where that ball, flies and all of that, to be up 8-2 and blow it. They went out and got that trade for Soler, and Soler is already paying off dividends. I mean, he had 4 home runs in Colorado over the weekend. But Luke Jackson, who they brought in as well, nice guy. Everybody keeps talking about how good he is in the clubhouse. I mean, he's just come to Atlanta and gotten shelled. Of course, the entire bullpen got shelled yesterday as well. All right, we'll talk more about the race coming up on Wednesday with Matt Coulter. But Joey Logano on a late restart, absolutely schooled Austin Dillon. was going to win the race. Austin Dillon just ran into his rear end and wrecked him. And then he hooked Denny Hamlin to keep Denny Hamlin from winning. So he took out two of the best drivers. Listen, he gets what he wanted. He goes from being 30-something in points, been buried in the back of the pack or the middle of the pack running laps all year. He wrecks a couple of the top guys. He wins the race, and he gets into the playoffs. At what cost? Well, we'll see. Because I guarantee you, not have to guarantee you, I can tell you that Joey Logano and Denny Hamlin were not happy. In fact, I may get Wyatt to pull up some of that sound before the show's over off of the post race last night, because that was crazy. I felt strongly about it. Listen, I went out on social media, posted my opinion on it, and a lot of people came at me and said, bumping is racing. That wasn't bumping. It's one thing to bump. It's another thing to swap a little paint. When you get schooled on a restart, because Austin Dillon had the preferred inside line. Obviously, he came out of the pits first. Joey Logano had the outside line. Joey Logano just outdrove him and had the race won, and he just wrecked him. That's not racing. That's ridiculous is what that is. But just what a weekend. And we're ready to get going here. We're going to take our first time out. We got Tom on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline when we come back. Let me go ahead and give the number, 205-342-9904. 205-342-9904. Rodney Orr coming up at 9:30. Phone calls are welcome, as I said, on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline. What a Monday, man. The buzz is in town. Football is just high school football.
AI-ready PCs powered by Snapdragon X Series processors at Dell.com/deals. That's Dell.com/deals.
As much as Innisfree has evolved, it will always be that place to escape and have a good time. Whether it's for a game day weekend, to reminisce on college days, or to create new memories, if you're looking for a good time, there's only one thing to do. Head to the Free at 1925 University Boulevard. And don't forget about the Lucky Lunch Meat and 3 special. Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. until 2 p.m. Get a meat and 3 vegetables for just $8.49. Or for a lighter appetite, try the Lucky Lunch soup, salad, or sandwich combo. I'll see you at the Free.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The sky will stay mostly sunny today, the high 92. For tonight, mostly fair with the low at 70. For tomorrow, partly to mostly sunny and hot. We'll mention a small chance of a shower during the afternoon or evening hours, the high 95. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
You're listening to the Gary Harris Show. For Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right. Jam-packed first segment. I ran in here right at 9 o'clock after getting caught in traffic, jumped right in, started talking about a crazy weekend, and now we're going to jump out on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline. It might get crazier because our pal Tom is checking in with his thoughts on the weekend. I have absolutely no idea where he's going to go this morning, but it's always fun to find out. Good morning, Tom.
Morning, Gary. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Thanks for taking my call.
You bet.
Now, I got two things I want to bring up, if you don't mind.
Okay.
The first one is, I believe WVUA and studios are located in the stadium. Did I hear you correctly?
That's right. Yeah, we're in the Digital Media Center in the north end zone, right there with Crimson Tide Productions on the 3rd floor, and then on the 4th floor is the public radio and television.
Now, what will you clue us in when you go down and visit Coach Saban? I mean, does that take place once a week? Or?
Well, it hasn't yet. But hey, listen, Tom, it hasn't happened yet. But I promise you, if I get the opportunity to go visit Coach Saban in his office at any point in time, I will let everybody know. I guarantee you that much.
You better not.
Yeah, you're probably right. If I do get that opportunity, I better keep it to myself. But it has not happened yet.
That was my faint stab at humor.
No, it was good. It was a good one because it's not out of the realm of possibility now. He's got an office in the stadium. I'm in the stadium.
Well, I was going to say Lynn can make that happen. She has credibility with the stadium.
She does. She's her and Miss Terry had a great run there together when
they are a good team. I would say on the parade.
They were outstanding. Missed that a lot.
The second thing is, now, I didn't talk to anybody that was at the scrimmage or anything like that, but and we've talked about the defensive line and so forth, and our concern with the defensive line. And I'm hearing good things so far about the defensive line during camp. So I'm going to skip over that and go to another concern that's been mine ever since Caleb Downs transferred, and that's the defensive secondary. I really think we're weak back there. What are you hearing?
I'm hearing better than what you're saying. I'm hearing that, there's still some depth concerns, but I think they're pleased with what they've seen, from Keon Sabb, the transfer, from the young defensive backs, obviously Malachi Moore providing the leadership. So I think that they're very pleased with what they've seen from the secondary. Now, does that mean that they're not, that they're not concerned? Because they are concerned. But I think that the secondary, from the coaching standpoint, is probably better than what they might have expected it to be when they came in, based on the number of players that left, based on what they had been told, they would work with, losing a guy like Caleb Downs. I think the secondary is better than what we as a fan base and media core expected it to be at this point. That's my take, Tom. I think the secondary is better than what a lot of us have been led to believe it would be.
Wow, that's interesting. Like I say, I have no insight whatsoever as to how they performed in the scrimmage or anything like that. It's just a feeling I've got based on, like you said, who's left and the amount of experience that we have at the SEC level coming back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. And listen, you're never going to replace a guy like Caleb Downs with somebody else. I think Caleb Downs is one of the finest handful of football players in the country. And, you lose him, you're going to feel it. I mean, what he did last year as a true freshman, there haven't been, and as great as Alabama's football tradition is, there's only been just a limited number of true freshmen that have had the impact that Caleb Downs had last year. I mean, it's, and he is going to be.
The only one close, in my opinion, was Mark Barron.
Yeah, and Barron in the secondary is one.
And I thought Caleb actually last year at the same amount of time that when you compare the two, that Caleb was a better player.
Well, I think so. I
love Mark Barron. Don't get me wrong. I thought he was a great player.
Yeah, I think if you're just looking at football players, forget position. There's only been, I think of Cornelius Bennett, the impact he made when he came in as a true freshman. Julio Jones, although Julio Jones' numbers weren't incredible, still, everybody out there had to be aware of Julio Jones. There just aren't many freshman football players right out of high school. I'm not talking about redshirt freshmen that are as good as Caleb Downs was. But, he's not here. But I tell you this, I think Keon Sabb is pretty doggone good. I know he played a heck of a game against Alabama.
When you start comparing somebody to the likes of Caleb Downs and Mark Barron, the next notch down is not that bad. You know what I'm saying? That could be good, but maybe not as good, but still good.
Yeah, but I think the secondary is going to be better maybe than what we had anticipated. Now, listen, I still think for me, the questions with this team are still on defense. I think the offense is going to be dynamic.
Me too.
I think the offense is going to be special. So we'll see what happens going forward. But we'll have Rodney on here in a few minutes, and I'll get all his thoughts on everything too.
I want to. Will you provoke a discussion with Rodney about defensive secondary and get his take on it?
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right, Tom, thank you. All right, it is 9:28 here on the Gary Harris Show. As we said, football season's right around the corner, and that's a good time to get ready to visit T-Town Menswear and T-Town Gallery in the University Mall. First of all, if you're coming back to being a fraternity, you got to have the classic look. You got to have the navy blazer, the khaki trousers, crimson tie, red tie, the belt, the loafers, whatever shoes that you need. You can get it all right there at T-Town Menswear. And then on the gallery side, yes, the 4th and 31 print is ready. Tom sent me a video a couple days ago, Jalen Milroe in the store holding the print. I'm looking at it right now. And I know Isaiah Bond is is at Texas now, but who cares, man? It's still 4th and 31. You got Milroe on the left side of the print with the throw, and you've got Bond on the right side with the catch, and that is available at T-Town Menswear and T-Town Gallery in the University Mall. So get by and see Tom and folks if you want to look your best and you want to help your Bama room look its best.
Conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Life doesn't wait for when your finances are in perfect order. It just happens. But no matter what surprises come your way, Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans, mortgages, and auto loans. They offer an easy application process and fast decisions so you can stay focused on feeling good about whatever life brings your way. Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans, mortgages, and auto loans. Alabama Credit Union, loans for real life. Visit alabamacu.com to learn more. Some rules and restrictions apply. See if you're eligible for membership, then join today and feel good about your money.
Follow Tide 100.9 on Facebook today to watch our live shows, read the great articles, and interact with Bama fans today.
All right, 9:31. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show here on Tide 100.9 FM at 12:30 a.m. WTBC. It's time for Rodney Orr from Tider Insider TV, TiderInsider.com. And for 20 plus years here in Tuscaloosa, he's covered the Crimson Tide. All these other websites tell you about all their sources. Rodney just goes about his business with the best coverage of Alabama football. And he's going to join us as he always does on Mondays to break it down. Good morning, Rod. How are you?
Good morning. How's it going?
Going well. Big weekend, scrimmage on Saturday, fan day yesterday, and I said earlier I left yesterday to the fans. It was their day. I let them have it. But on Saturday, you and I were over there to hear Coach DeBoer afterwards. I thought he said, before we get to just, what you were able to find out about the scrimmage, I just thought his demeanor was one of, again, you try to read body language. Sometimes you can make a mistake doing that with coaches, but I thought he was upbeat. I thought he obviously there's a lot to work on, but he came across to me as a coach that understands he's got a good football team, and he seemed pleased with what they've done to this point in fall camp, including Saturday scrimmage. That was my takeaway. What was yours?
Yeah. No, I think he's always, he's just got a positive, like you said, positive message all the time, I think, but for most of the time. I thought that he was real cautious, I felt like, Gary. He didn't want to single anyone out. Mm-hmm. He didn't divulge much. He was pretty close to the vest when it came to some of those questions. I mean, he was asked some specifics about a few players, obviously about the quarterbacks and Jalen Milroe in particular, and how their days went, and other positions of concern, or not that the quarterback's a position of concern, but just other areas that are questions that people have, the offensive line and all those things. I just thought he was, pretty close to the vest on what he said, and for the most part, but. Does sound like that the scrimmage went really well overall.
Yeah, and then you were able to piece together a notes package. Again, we did not see any of the scrimmage, but just based on some people that you talked to, you were able to put some notes together. Let's start with the quarterbacks. And Coach said this. I mean, this is a really good group of quarterbacks. I'm not talking about just with Milroe, but the entire group. But Alabama's blessed with a really strong quarterback room.
Yeah, it sounds like all of them had some moments in the scrimmage just based on different people we've spoken with. It sounds like Milroe did a really nice job, obviously made some big plays. He had some big throws, had a big run. So, a lot of versatility there with him. We know about his ability to make things happen with his feet and, big plays in the passing game. Same thing with Ty Simpson. Made some plays throwing the ball down the field, had some big throws to Josh Cuevas for a touchdown. To Cole Adams for a touchdown. Cole Adams is a name that I think we probably should, keep in mind. We don't mention him that much. He's a redshirt freshman out of Oklahoma who, was injured a little bit, when he got here. He's a true freshman, but he's a guy that's making a lot of plays, made some plays in this scrimmage, stood out. So he's a name, but the running backs, I know they're going to be utilized in a lot of different ways, and I think it's just the versatility of this offense that's going to be just being able to spread the ball around to different guys and utilize them in different ways, not just running, but and DeBoer mentioned this, but also some people I talked to talked about how effective, Jam Miller was catching the ball, and Justice Haynes as well, catching the ball out of the backfield on swing passes, making plays, all of those different things. So I think offensively, again, they're continuing to kind of develop this offense, and it's going to get better and better and better. I think it's got a chance to be really explosive, as we get into the season.
Yeah, I do too. I'm really excited. I even heard some good things, on the return game. You and I talked about this. Regardless of who they put back there, they've got some good options. But the whole special teams seems like it's going to be a strength of this football team to me, Rodney.
It does. Hopefully, I think, again, I didn't hear this. I didn't talk to anybody really about the place care, but I see people posting things that Graham Nicholson missed a couple of field goals, whatever. But I think he and Connor Talty overall were pretty consistent with their kicks based on a few things I've heard. I do think coverage units and all of those things can be really good because you have so many great athletes. But the return game, with some of the guys they have, whether it's Kendrick Law or Jeremy Bernard or Ryan Williams, Jalen Mbakwe, and there's probably a host of other guys we could name that are capable of making a lot of plays in those areas. They should be really good in the return game as well. And, while I mentioned Ryan Williams, I know he had a big play, maybe the first big play of the scrimmage was a deep ball from Jalen Milroe for a touchdown. And, there's a lot of rave, too, about Caleb Odom. We've talked about him quite a bit, Gary, and he made an incredible one-handed catch. I'm sure a lot of people saw the video of that. It was pretty phenomenal. So they've got to me, I'm just really excited, this offense, being able to watch it and kind of see how it develops over the course of time.
Rodney Orr with us from TiderInsider.com, Tider Insider TV. Let's get to the defense, because I think you and I both kind of feel like this offense is going to be outstanding, and the defense is talented, but there appear to be more questions on the defensive side, and most of them surround the secondary. I still think that what I've been able to find out and what little bit I've seen, that there's some talent back there. There's no doubt about it. And at the same time, there are a lot of questions. Just, inconsistency, that was a word. Inconsistent's a word you used on the secondary in your notes package. Is that kind of just what it seems to be with this secondary group, is just inconsistent?
Yeah, I think so. That's basically what again, when you don't see it, you're going on secondhand. But there's just people talking about how, like you said, the talent's there. They made some plays. Several of those guys made plays, which is extremely encouraging at the corner spot, even at safety in the secondary overall. Made a lot of plays, but also there was some coverage bust here and there that they've got to get cleaned up. So it's just the consistency. Some good, some not so good. Anytime you're dealing with a young group, it's that lacks experience, it just takes some time. So, but it does sound like that, again, that everything I heard it was really encouraging in terms of the potential of the group. It's just a matter of cleaning some of those things up. And, defensively overall up front, one name that really stood out was LT Overton, based on the people I talked to, defensive lineman, the transfer from Texas A&M. That at times he was, one person just said he looked dominant at times, which is really encouraging, because a lot of people forget LT, when he was coming out of high school, he was the number one overall player in the country coming out of high school. And then he reclassified to, his junior year and went early, after his junior year. He went early to Texas A&M, and he was still a top 10 player, but so really to get a guy like that who has the kind of ability, the disruptive ability that he has, that was really encouraging to hear. I heard he had multiple sacks in the scrimmage, which again, like Kalen DeBoer says, that's give and take. If he had multiple sacks, that means somebody gave up multiple sacks. But, again, overall, I think it was both sides of the ball were showed a lot of promise.
Yeah, and while we're on the line of scrimmage, you brought up the defensive line, and again, that's an area of concern, but an area that seems like there's a lot of different players that could contribute. Offensive line-wise, I've heard great things so far during camp on this offensive line. Rodney, what's been your takeaway on the offensive line? I know they're still trying to secure those tackle positions, mainly right tackle. I think all of us feel like Proctor is going to be the left tackle, but right tackle there with Pritchett and Formby. What are you hearing on the offensive line?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the interior with Brailsford and Jaden Roberts and Tyler Booker is probably as strong as any group in America. And then a left tackle, we know about Proctor's potential. And then at right tackle, Elijah Pritchett and Wilkin Formby continue to kind of work there. It sounds like to me, I mean, all of the observation that we've had, Wilkin Formby has gotten most of the reps that we've seen, okay? And then you go to the scrimmage, you talk to people who were there, and they kind of say that was the same pattern, that Wilkin Formby seemed to get most of the first reps, and then Pritchett worked in whatever. But, again, the position's not necessarily decided, but I do think Wilkin Formby might be kind of maybe taking a lead there if it's based on what we're hearing. But that has to really, continue to solidify. But the offensive line overall, my understanding is they're really pleased. They feel like depth is the main concern right now. They may have 6 or 7 guys that they feel like they can win with. They'd like to have a little more depth, and I think that's probably the most concerning thing there.
And we're kind of jumping around a little bit, Rodney, but that's kind of what you do when you're looking at a team coming out of a scrimmage. You mentioned Odom and the buzz about him, but tight end overall seems to be like a strength. I mean, especially with a guy, you're talking about another one of these guys that's kind of overlooked is C.J. Dupree. I mean, when you look at how big he is, what a dominant blocker he is, but athletic enough to get out and snag, passes and run after the catch, and, Cuevas, all these tight ends. I mean, this seems like a really strong position for Alabama.
Well, I think if a guy isn't featured and his strengths aren't featured, then you never really know about them. You don't see them start to kind of flourish and come out. But I think the system that they're in, they utilize the tight ends. I've always liked C.J. Dupree. I watched him when he was at Maryland, some of the things he did, and you could see the ability. But apparently he had a really good day. I mean, like you said, he's got size to be able to block, but he's also got the ability to get down the field. He makes tough catches in traffic. He's athletic enough to run after the catch. So a lot of those things. Josh Cuevas, too. I'd heard a lot about him when he transferred from Washington. He's a great route runner. He's really physical for a 6'3", 245-pound kid. Makes a lot of plays in the passing game. Had a great catch. It was a great throw because the video was on the what UA released. Great throw from Ty Simpson, by the way, down the field to Josh Cuevas. So he's a guy that can make things happen. When you have tight ends that can do those types of things, and there's other guys, Danny Lewis, Robbie Oots, Ty Lockwood. All of those guys are talented, so I agree with you. And I said this in our kind of last week before the scrimmage, said, watch out for the tight ends because I think they're really a group that's solid and going to surprise some people.
Rodney Orr with us from TiderInsider.com, kind of recapping the weekend and talking some Bama football. And we didn't mention the running backs because I don't think you really have to mention them. I mean, I think it's just we now know that this running back group is going to be special.
Yeah, Jam Miller and Justice Haynes, obviously Richard Young too. Those three, but Jam Miller, he's having a really good camp, and they all are. But Jam is just a guy that I think people are he's going to turn some heads this year. He runs between the tackles. The word is when he gets on that second level, nobody really wants to tackle him because he's so physical. But he has such a burst too, and he catches the ball extremely well. So. Both of those guys, Justice Haynes, he's got incredible vision, Gary. I mean, guy can find a crease and make it happen. So feel really good about them. I feel good about the offensive line in that run game too. So I think we're going to see, I won't be surprised. I know a lot of people talk about, this offense and what they do in terms of the explosive passing game that they have. But I think, Kalen DeBoer is really good at kind of filling out his personnel and what they do best. And I won't be surprised, at least early on, if they lean a lot more heavily on the run game than people think. I think it's going to be a really strong run game.
And back to the defense, inside linebackers of strength with the two starters plus Justin Jefferson, a guy that Womack says is like a starter. So you've got Lawson, Campbell, and Jefferson. Edge rushers are another area where there's some inexperience there, Rodney, and they're trying to find some guys that can get after the quarterback.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I understand that they're sticking Campbell out there some with Jefferson inside, or they'll flip Jefferson out there with Campbell inside with Lawson. So I think they're giving those guys some looks outside as pass rushers based on, the things that we were told from the scrimmage. So that's not really surprising because both those guys, Campbell and Jefferson, very, very disruptive players, can do things off the edge as pass rushers. But some of those other outside linebackers, Keanu Coote, Quandarius Robinson, been around a while. This is a great opportunity for them, but I heard a lot about Quay Russaw. We've been hearing about Quay Russaw for a while, of course. But I understand he had some pretty nice plays setting the edge, and also as a pass rusher in this scrimmage. Johannes Pierre, of course, and I think Noah Carter might have had an interception, the true freshman. I think he may have had an interception in this scrimmage. So those guys, they had some production.
We'll have plenty of time as they're really settling into fall camp now. Before you know it, they'll be breaking fall camp. School will be starting. We'll get ready for the first game. But speaking of that first game, and like I said, we'll have plenty of time to break it down. But I heard Wyatt and Barry talking this morning, and you look at Western Kentucky, good football tradition, and Alabama's going to get tested on defense. I mean, TJ Finley's the quarterback. It seems like was playing at Auburn 10 years ago. Because he was. I mean, this is a guy, he's got to be 24, 25 years old. But he's got the huge arm. He can sling it. So, that defense, we're going to find out, you talk about what's coming down the road. I think you're going to find out a lot about Alabama's defense in that first game. When you've got a veteran guy like TJ Finley that's going to be, throwing the football for the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers.
I'm just interested in seeing it. I mean, I'm interested in seeing this team on the field defensively. Because that's kind of a question mark. It's not because of, I think, anything in particular other than maybe the secondary, the youth of it, but just the change. I mean, we've seen Nick Saban for 17 years. We've come to expect what that defense was going to be. Now it's Kane Womack. It's kind of a different system. Things that people say is just how aggressive they are. They fly all over the field. They're trying to create a lot of negative plays and turnovers and all of these types of things. So I'm just excited or interested to see exactly, what they look like. But yeah, I think that schedule early on probably is going to be something that, allows this team overall, defensively, offensively, whatever, to grow a little bit. And, by the time they get to that Wisconsin game, the third week of the season, Gary, they're kind of probably getting a little bit better feel, and that'll be a great game. That's the one I'm kind of pointing to myself. Of course, I'm not looking over Western Kentucky or South Florida, but that Wisconsin game going on the road, way up there, Big Ten, unfamiliar territory, early morning game, Camp Randall, all the excitement that's going to be going on up there. This is big Kalen DeBoer's first road game at Alabama. So that's a game too that I think could be a tricky game.
I need to apologize to TJ Finley. He's only 22. It just seems like when you've already been to LSU, Auburn, Texas State, and Western Kentucky. But here's the caveat: he's still got 2 years of eligibility left. He's on his fourth school.
Wow.
Ronnie, this is how this has changed. Can you imagine 20 years ago if you were in your fourth school? First of all, it'd be hard to be at 4 schools, but you still have 2 years of eligibility remaining. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But
times have really changed.
Yeah, they really have. But he'll test Alabama. There's no doubt about that. So anyway, we're settling in, like I said, to fall camp. There won't be as much media availability going forward, which in a lot of ways I think is a good thing for this team, and still getting ready here. Before long, like I said, school will start and fall camp will actually break. But at this point, right, and again, it's hard to, this is a tough question, but at this point, with where they're at, you feel like from what you've been able to gather and the practice viewing and all that they're right on track. They're right where they should be at this point in fall camp.
Well, I mean, that's, tough question for me to answer, but I'll tell you this. I'm really excited because, I mean, it's the vibe out there in practices that's really up-tempo. It's these practices seem to be really productive. The players, the chemistry, the vibe, everything seems to be good. And I do think, based on some things I've heard, just overall, you look at the offense and just so many different playmakers, so many different options that they're going to have. And I think it's a team, that offense, that we really don't know exactly how good they can be right now. I mean, they could be by the middle or towards the end of the year, Gary, it could be maybe one of the most explosive offenses in the country, certainly. I know Jeremy Bernard said last week they're going to average 40 points a game, and he was comparing it to the Washington offense last year. That was the question. So, no, I mean, I'm really excited about just what I see, the potential out there. Now, the schedule, there's going to be some difficulties. I mean, Georgia comes to town. They've got a lot of continuity. They've got a quarterback coming back that's got a lot of experience, and their offensive line is highly touted, and certainly they do a great job defensively. So, I mean, there's a lot of challenges that this team's going to have. And in the first year, there's always, when there's a transition, there's things that pop up, adjustments that have to be made, all of these things that come up. Sometimes the first year can be a little bit bumpy at times. So you got to keep all of those things into perspective. But overall, when you just look at this team, just the camaraderie seems to be really, really good. And I think that goes a long way in helping a team be successful.
And lastly, Rodney, it's slowed a little bit, obviously, with fall camp, but anything happening on the recruiting front?
Yeah, I really haven't, been able to, been so much focus on this, what's going on with camp. I haven't heard as much. And again, I know that we're still waiting on A.K. Deer, the running back from over in Mississippi. I thought would have probably made a decision a while back, but I think he is going to make his decision sometime this month, unless things change. But that could happen, and I still feel good about Alabama. So right now it's kind of been put on the back burner, at least, these visits and stuff. Kids are going through their fall camps and what have you as well.
All right, good stuff as always. And a word about TiderInsider.com.
Yeah, it's TiderInsider.com. It's only $48 a year, and you can get instant access with your credit card, or if you prefer. There is an address there to send a check. Gives you all our premium information, but also our all sports forum. It's our community of Alabama fans. It's picking up a little bit, after a slow summer, Gary. But it's really going to pick up here in a few weeks once we tee it up.
All right, Rodney. And, of course, the book, Bigger Than Bama, available at RodneyOrr.com. Tider Insider TV tomorrow night at 6:30. Thanks, Rod.
Okay, buddy. Take care.
All right, it's 9:52. We're going to get to our final break, come back and wrap up this first hour of the program. Hey, the YMCA of Tuscaloosa, man, it's always there ready for you. As I say, the Y is ready when you're ready for the Y. Make a commitment to go by and visit them and see all that they have to offer. And the minute you join, you'll be on your way to better health and wellness and fitness. That's the YMCA of Tuscaloosa, 2300 13th Street downtown. You can call them at 205-345-9622 or find out more at ymcatuscaloosa.org and look into personal
growth. They also perform an important function by controlling blood pressure and minerals like calcium and potassium to keep the entire body healthy.
Los Tarascos has been serving Mexican favorites like burritos, fajitas, and quesadillas since 1999. Their new location is at 4100 Owen Parkway in Northport. And of course, you can find Los Tarascos in Tuscaloosa at 110 Skyland Boulevard. The bar areas feature big screen television so you can enjoy your favorite sporting events. Los Tarascos features daily happy hours.
/deal or text DEAL to 511-511.
Your order is back with a 90-day guarantee.
All dogs are unique. Your dog results can and will vary. Message and data rates may apply.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The sky will stay mostly sunny today, the high 92. For tonight, mostly fair with the low at 70. For tomorrow, partly to mostly sunny and hot. We'll mention a small chance of a shower during the afternoon or evening hours, the high 95. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3320 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
Covering University of Alabama sports, as well as the national and local scene as well. The Gary Harris Show, only on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, 9:55. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show. And that first hour just absolutely flew by. And the second hour is going to go by fast, too, because we're going to have a good second hour for you. We'll have Casey Smith on golf at 10:30. Can't wait to talk to Casey about the FedEx Cup playoffs. Also, in the second segment of the first hour, we're going to get to those clips from Alabama head coach Kalen DeBoer following Saturday scrimmage over at Bryant-Denny Stadium. Your phone calls will be wide open for those in the first segment on the Pinnacle Park at North River hotline 205-342-9904. And after we have Casey Smith on in the final segment, I am going to get to some of that audio with post-race last night in Richmond. We're going to let you hear from Joey Logano and from Denny Hamlin, not happy at all with one Austin Dillon. All that's coming up in the second hour. That's going to do it for the first hour. It's been brought to you by Alabama Credit Union. Our mission is to enhance the lives of our members and team members, strengthen our communities, and live our shared values. That's who we are, a history of commitment to our community. Alabama Credit Union. Find out more at alabamacu.com. That's alabamacu.com, or get by and see them, as I said, at one of their many locations around the state of Alabama. Alabama Credit Union, loans for real life. Hour number 2 of the Gary Harris Show is on the way. Since 2011, Billy's Sports Grill, located on Main Avenue in historic downtown Northport, has been serving their legendary signature chicken sandwich, award-winning wings, and handcrafted cocktails. Billy's is also the spot to watch all your favorite sporting events with big screen, high-definition televisions in both dining rooms, at the bar, and outside on the
no matter how high the mercury rises. Call Ox Home Services today at 205-979-0946 or visit oxhomeservices.com.
Tuscaloosa's Old Colony Golf Course is an 18-hole championship layout designed by 1976 U.S. Open champion Jerry Pate. Director of Golf John Gray and fitting specialist Bob Montgomery are PGA certified. Mike Shivitz is the head professional and director of the Tuscaloosa Junior Golf Program. Call today to secure
DEAL or text DEAL to 511-511. Text DEAL to 511-511 today. All dogs are unique. Your dog results can and will vary. Message and data rates may apply.
WTBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Nick Cope.
In an upcoming biography about Aaron Rodgers, the four-time NFL MVP told author Ian O'Connor that he regrets saying he was immunized against COVID-19 back in 2021. Rodgers said the statement at the time represented the crux of his appeal, but he now regrets it because, to use Rodgers' words, it's the only thing critics could hit him with. In other NFL news, Giants coach Brian Daboll said receiver Malik Nabers is day-to-day and will not practice today after suffering an ankle injury over the weekend. But Daboll added he thinks the rookie is okay and avoided a fracture. The Dolphins are activating linebacker Jalen Phillips off the PUP list. Phillips is now clear for practice 8.5 months after tearing his Achilles. And in baseball, Red Sox outfielder Jarren Duran apologized for directing an anti-gay slur at a heckling fan during Sunday's loss to the Astros.
Now, this hour's West Alabama real-time news update from the Tuscaloosa Thread Newsroom.
Both Red Cross and Life South report there is a current blood supply shortage, partly resulting from fewer people giving during the dog days of August. Click on their websites to find the locations of drives for the remainder of the month. Tuscaloosa County suffered its 22nd homicide of the year, while the city of Tuscaloosa recorded its 16th over the weekend. The fatals came from a shooting at Creekwood Village Apartments that took one man's life and wounded another. And Rush Week is underway for sororities at the University of Alabama. It culminates with Midday Sunday.
Get 24/7 local news coverage and sports updates when you download the free Tuscaloosa Thread app and sign up for twice daily email newsletters. The Gary Harris Show. UCM host Tider Insider TV. Crimson Tide Kickoff. Play-by-play for Alabama sports and sports director for WVUA 23. It's time for the Gary Harris Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Hour number 2 of the Gary Harris Show, the Monday morning edition for August 12, 2024. I'm Gary Harris. Wyatt Fulton is manning the controls this morning, taking your phone calls on the Pinnacle Park at North River hotline at 205-342-9904. Chase Brumfeld off for a few days this week, and we've got Wyatt pulling a long day today. He's going to be all the way up through the entire day, so we appreciate him. Hey, listen, before we get to phone calls, we got Bryce on the hotline. We talked about all the positives in NFL exhibition season. Bama in the NFL, it's a segment I do on my TV sportscast. I do it here because there's so many guys to track, and it's just always something going on. A lot of positives. I mentioned the game winner by Will Riker, the field goal, Miller Forrestall catching the game-winning touchdown pass. J.C. Latham played really well at left tackle in his debut for the Titans. But there was a big negative, too, on Friday night when DeMarco Hellams, who's vying for a starting safety position with the Atlanta Falcons, got carted off in the exhibition game against the Dolphins. This morning, we do have an update. There's good news, bad news. The good news, it appears that Hellams may have avoided season-ending surgery or being put on the reserve injured list despite being carted off. The bad news is, according to head coach Raheem Morris, he is going to miss, quote, significant time. That coming in a press conference this morning. So Hellams should be back at some point this season, but he's going to be out for a while. Good news is it doesn't look like he's going to be lost for the season because he was playing. You know, he was a guy at Alabama who always, to me, the production didn't quite match the talent. I just always felt he was more talented. You know, he was a, how should I say this, a spotty tackler. He would make a great play, and then he'd be in coverage on one-on-one. He'd have a guy squared up on a short pass to make the tackle, and he'd whiff. But the size, the speed, really talented athlete. Falcons take a waiver. I can't even remember if he was drafted or if he was signed as a free agent. If he was drafted, he was drafted late. But either way, he got in there in Atlanta, has kind of found his way, and then this year, as I said, vying for a starting position as safety, but that has been slowed some, but hopefully he'll be back at some point this season. All right, let's jump out on the Pinnacle Park and North River hotline, 205-342-9904, and Bryce is with us here in the second hour. Good morning, Bryce.
Hey, Gary, thanks for taking my call. Well, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Okay, this offense is going to be real explosive. Did you see the defense getting better?
Yeah, I can see the defense getting better, and I'm with you. I think the offense is going to be very explosive. That's my opinion. I think they're going to be really good. I think they're going to be dynamic. I think they're going to be good and dynamic right out of the gate. I think the first game against Western Kentucky, that offense is going to impress us. Defensively, in my opinion, again, that's all this is. I do think there's going to be some growing pains. I think it could be a little spotty. I think they could be tested right off the bat by TJ Finley and that Western Kentucky offense. But yes, I do see them getting better already based on what I've been able to find out. And I think they'll get better as the season goes on too. That's the thing about this defense. I think that the defense that you see in week 1 won't be the defense that you see in week 4, hopefully, or week 8 or week 12. I think this defense has the ability to get better throughout the season as they get more comfortable. Again, you can rep it, you can practice it, you can scrimmage it, you can do all the things that they've done in spring and fall camp, but you got to play some games with it. And what I mean by that is you got a new scheme, you got new coaches, you got new players, you got questions. So really the only way to answer those is to get out and play in the games. And hopefully, you win these first couple of games at home. Even if the defense, at times isn't as sound maybe as we'd like it to be, and you get a couple games under your belt, and then you go to Wisconsin in week 3, and you really start to feel it and get it. So, yeah, I think they're getting better, Bryce, and I think they're going to get better as the season goes on. The only thing about inexperience is you can have talented players, but you know this, Bryce. I don't have to tell you, our listeners, this, but it's true, is the only thing that inexperience is you lack experience. And the only way to get it is to play. It's just, you can't fake experience. You can't, and talent sometimes doesn't even overcome experience. I mean, you just have to get out there and you have to play. And for some of these guys, particularly in the secondary and some of those edge rushers, that first game against Western Kentucky is going to be their first significant playing time in a real football game. So they'll learn from it. They'll grow from it. We saw it last year on the opposite side. We saw last year early in the year that offense struggle. Bryce, remember? And then, they got better as the season went along. So I'm hoping that's what we see with the defense.
Well, the point I was making is they're going up against an explosive offense in practice every day.
Yeah.
That'll help them get better.
Yeah, sure it will. Absolutely. No doubt about it. But still, there's nothing like playing in real games. I mean, you still...
I agree. 110%. I agree with you.
But I do think that they're going to get better facing that offense in practice, and I think that's what practice is for. Practice is to get you better, and I think they are getting better. But there's nothing like game experience. And a lot of these guys have game experience. You know, those defensive linemen, those inside linebackers, Malachi Moore, some of these guys got a lot of experience, but some of them don't. And you know the areas at corner, at edge rusher, those are going to be inexperienced guys that are going to be out there playing in the games. And, you just can't, I think it's unrealistic to think that you're going to put some of these guys out there for the first time playing college football and that they're not going to make mistakes. They're going to make some mistakes, Bryce. That's just part of it.
Right. I feel very confident in the quarterback room because it's been, and I hope Milroe don't get hurt. If he would, I think Simpson's ready. He's a lot better. Everybody's improved this year in the quarterback room, and I think he could step right in, and that last year we didn't have that confident situation. But I think, you never know. You play away from getting hurt. I think Simpson's ready to step right in there and take charge, and I think our running back room is probably one of the best running back rooms that we've had in a long time. Since what's his name was a freshman, big boy out of Florida.
Derrick Henry?
Yeah. I think this running back room is the best one we had in a long time, and I think these receivers we got are explosive, and we got a lot of talent. I think if we put it together in jail, we'll see what happens. They control their own destiny, and I'm glad everybody's looking at them under the radar, not expecting them to do nothing, and I feel real positive about this team because I went to the 8A game. I saw we still have a lot of talent, and it's going to show. We're going to get better as we play each game. It's my opinion.
I'm with you 100%.
Way, right?
I think you summed it up well. I think this team, I think you're right on about the quarterback room. Last year, you went into the season with questions about all the quarterbacks. Now this year, Milroe's a proven starter. Simpson's a proven backup. Lonergan's got a year of experience on the team, and you bring in a really, really talented freshman in Austin Mack. So, quarterback room, strength, running back room, I think there's as good as any running back room in the country. Offensive line, I think is going to be fine. Wide receivers, I think are going to be more dynamic than people think. And then you add in a tight end room that's got a lot of really, really different type of players. Yeah, the offense is in my opinion, the offense is stacked. Now, you still got to go out and you got to play.
Exactly. You got to take it to the field.
That's right.
And produce.
But I really feel good about the offense, and I do feel good that the defense is going to get better as the season goes along. And Rodney mentioned a guy that's kind of being overlooked, and that's LT Overton. Who, Ronnie's right. When he was coming out of high school, he reclassified to go to Texas A&M as the number one, high school player in the country for his class before he reclassified. So this is a guy who's got extreme talent and great ability. And he's coming in here now with a chance to prove something after it didn't go out his way at Texas A&M. So there's some playmakers on that defense. Keon Sabb's another guy. Again, listen, you know how I feel about Caleb Downs. I watched Caleb Downs last year and I said, this is as good a freshman defensive player as there is in the country. I mean, they finally put him back there to catch punts, and I'll be doggone if it's the first time or two he catches a punt, he takes it back for a touchdown. So you don't make up for the loss of a guy like that, but I think Alabama did as close as you can to making up for it, bringing in Keon Sabb. Keon Sabb is a winning football player. Yeah.
He was a thorn in our side in the playoff game. But however, any of these guys are negative and thinking that we're going to lose 4 games. If they want to keep believing like that, they need to find them a new team to root for. And to say that Georgia just go ahead and hand them the trophy, I'm not convinced of that. We always a thorn in their side, and we always will be.
Well, nobody's going to hand out any trophies before the season. That's for sure. You got to earn it. No matter who you are, you got to earn it. And that's the beauty. That's the beauty of sports. I say this, Bryce, you hear me say it many times. Everybody starts 0-0. You start 0-0 with the record. Yep. You start 0-0 on the scoreboard. Everybody's got to earn it. Nobody's given anything. And, that's what makes it great. You You know, you don't, if you're a 22-point favorite, they still don't let you start out ahead 22-0. You got to start out 0-0. And if you're 22-point underdog, you get your chance. So, that's what makes the game so great. We're ready. You know, we're at that point now where, you know, we can smell it a little bit. And, you know, now we're ready to get out there and watch the games.
Well, I'm still sticking my prediction. The worst case scenario, 2 games, and it wouldn't surprise me if we run the table.
I hear you, Bryce.
That's where I'm at.
Appreciate you, man.
All right, appreciate you. All
right.
Bye.
Good phone call there from Bryce. If you want to get in on the program, 205-342-9904 is the number on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline. So you're more than welcome to give us a call. All right, before we hit this next break, and when we come back, we're going to hear from Kalen DeBoer, some clips from Saturday following the scrimmage. But my thoughts quickly on, you know, Rodney kind of gave you a great summation of where we're at to this point in fall. Wyatt has been on the beat. Fowler's been on the beat. I haven't been over there as often because with the morning practices, I'm doing my show here. But I've certainly tracked it. And I asked Rodney the question, it's hard to answer, but do you feel like this team is where it ought to be at this point in time? And he said, you know, yeah, and I do too. I think everything that I've seen is that, here, let me get my sheet out here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 practices that we're in. What? 13 practices in. I think that this, or 12 practices in, I think this team is right where they should be. I think they're right on track. I think that the learning, the teaching, the fall camp, hasn't been any significant injuries. I think to this point, it's been great. And everything with Coach DeBoer to this point has been great. I said this in regards to when he took the job. You know, all you can judge Coach DeBoer on is where you're at. In other words, he hadn't coached a game yet. And ultimately that will be the litmus test. That's what it'll all come down to. But as far as coming in on a Friday night, having to get together for a press conference, having to get your family situated and moved and all that stuff that goes with it, handle recruiting, get together, do a spring, do all the speaking that he's done, get into fall camp. I think he has hit a home run to this point as a head football coach at the University of Alabama. I've been so impressed with how he's handled his business. So my point is, if the season goes the way the offseason has gone, Alabama's going to be really in good shape because this guy has handled this. Again, you're following Nick Saban. You're not following, Brian Harsin, the way Hugh Freeze did. You're not following some of these coaches that didn't have success. You're following arguably the greatest coach in college football history. So you're under a microscope, a magnifying glass from the minute you get here. Kalen DeBoer has hit it out of the park. I feel really good about where this team's at and really good about the season. All right, 10:15, we'll take a timeout. And before we do, I want to mention to you, as you know, a lot of good places to eat lunch in Tuscaloosa. I'm associated with several of them. One of them is just right down the street from me right here. Los Tarascos, authentic Mexican cuisine here in Tuscaloosa on Skyland Boulevard, also in Northport and their newest location downtown at Timerson Square. Lunch and dinner, happy hour,
and appointments set around your schedule. Give us a call for all your steam cleaning needs, 205-553-9460. Houston Hydro Steam. Quality work you can stand on. If you haven't already, you've got to try Tuscaloosa's unique breakfast, brunch, and lunch concept. Brick and Spoon, downtown Tuscaloosa, Timerson Square. It's fresh food with a Cajun flair featuring a full bar with build-your-own Bloody Marys and mimosas. Open daily, 7 a.m. until 2 p.m. Available for after-hours events.
Trips to get deep into grout. Don't mop harder, mop smarter.
Swiffer Power Mop. Swiffer Power Mop. Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The sky will stay mostly sunny today, the high 92. For tonight, mostly fair with the low at 70. For tomorrow, partly to mostly sunny and hot. We'll mention a small chance of a shower during the afternoon or evening hours, the high 95. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
Find Tide on Twitter at Tide109 to keep up with show announcements, guests, and our reporters in the field.
right, 10:19. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show. Gary Harris and Wyatt Fulton with you. Phone lines are open on the Pinnacle Park and North River hotline. 205-342-9904 is the number. Right now, we're going to get to some audio from the head coach of the Crimson Tide. We've talked about Kalen DeBoer and the job he's doing all morning. Let's let Kalen DeBoer talk about the job he's doing and what's going on. All right, Wyatt's got his post-scrimmage clips ready to roll, and we're going to start with his opening statement from Saturday inside Bryant-Denny Stadium. Here's the head coach of the Crimson Tide, Kalen DeBoer.
It's good to be out there. Scrimmage one in the stadium. It's good to be in your surroundings and get familiar with that. Been since the spring game, so ran about 100. I think it was 102 plays, maybe give or take one or two. 81 with the ones and twos, pretty balanced there. I think it was 40 to 41 plays, and then 21 plays, if I'm doing my math right, with the threes. So good give and take. Got some explosive plays. You got some tackles for loss. Obviously from my standpoint, you want the defense to do better on the explosive plays and not give those up, and you're proud of the offense, and then vice versa there with tackles for loss and sacks and things like that. But thought one thing I've seen over the last few practices, we've had the officials there. It's always going to be that way early in camp. Some penalties and things like that. I thought we did a lot better job today. Really did a really good job, actually, when I think about it. I don't know the number, but very few. So guys were out there playing ball and just understand the rhythm, the tempo. Really trying to take advantage of being in here. You got the coach to player communication. We use that every day in practice. It shuts off with 15 seconds. But really simulate it with the officials, and what that looks pretty much down to the second. So got some good work there. And then also, the tablet, iPad, on the sideline. We took two breaks, 6 minutes or so, just to get on the sideline and be able to understand what that looks like, because we, at this point, really aren't able to practice that in our complex during normal practices. So just using that and really understanding what the benefit is, take advantage of the confirmation or the learning opportunities that can happen in between drives during the breaks that we had today, but also not dwelling on it so much to where it affects our mindset and where our poise and confidence is going into the next drive. So proud of the guys. Thought they did a really good job staying relatively healthy, just your typical fall camp stuff. Guys dinged up a little bit here and there, but nothing more than what you'd expect.
All right, outstanding opening comments from Kalen DeBoer on Saturday. Let's get to Jalen Milroe and the quarterbacks. Again, this is a strength of this football team. Here's Coach DeBoer.
Thought the plays that are there and you need to make that throw, I think they're doing that at a higher level, not just today, but throughout camp, getting better at it. And a lot of that's the trust in your guys around you, that they're going to be where you anticipate them being, especially in those moments when you get a little bit of pressure. You get a little bit of a rush around you and just managing it. I still think there's a time or two we can throw the ball away. And I'm not just talking about Jalen, I'm talking about all of them. It's across the board, just to keep us out of those situations where, it turns into a third and extra long or something like that. But, that's just here and there. That's not something that's happening a lot, but it's one of those that just kills a drive, and when you get 11 or 12 a game, every one of them is important. So those are great learning moments, and we got a lot of those opportunities again today where we, just get rid of the football, live to see another down. We got a lot of plays that can get us first downs, as long as it's reasonable.
All right, good stuff there on the quarterbacks, and now more good stuff, because these running backs with Jam Miller and Justice Haynes and Richard Young, it's a good group. Here's Coach DeBoer on the running back core at Alabama.
Yeah, I thought we hit a couple explosives. Jam had a nice play down in the red zone there. A lot of it was the offensive line, as it always is. I think there's some schemes we're really good at. And, our defense obviously on the opposite end can continue to work on defending. And then I think there's some things that we know are going to need to do, that we got to continue to just work on. That's part of the process of the line being all in sync. But one thing I'll just say about our running backs, they're very versatile. And if they maybe don't get those seams as much as they want in the run game, they're a threat in the pass game. I don't care if it's checking out and, we swing it out to them in the flat, or if they're really one of the primary, route runners, that's getting out of the backfield. They're doing just a good job all around. And, both Jam and Justice, taking pretty much all the reps with the ones there. They did a great job. So, running the football, physical, really not many times where you're just like, oh, come on, or anything like that. So I just really feel that we got a great and solid backfield, with both of those guys.
All right. And we're going to skip. There's a couple clips here. We're not going to have time for all. I'm not going to worry about the injury report in the SEC. Coach basically said if that's something that the SEC tells us to do, we'll do it. One of the things early in fall camp and in the first scrimmage is alignment and just everybody getting lined up correctly, not having illegal procedures or offsides. Coach was asked about how that went on Saturday.
I think the offense maybe drew the defense off one time. And so just procedure-wise, I don't know if there's any false starts offensively, no illegal formations, so no movements. And if there was, maybe it was one that I can't remember. But that's where I think that, we were pretty clean. So the mental mistakes, or what I would call a foolish penalty, where we're just not sharp, really kind of honed in on that here. So I think we took the next step with the other penalties too. Really not much from a holding. I don't know if we got any holding calls out there. We had one kind of legal block, block back, crack back block that was really good for us to actually have happen, because we can learn from that and talk through that. So, guys, maybe one pass interference. So the penalties were really down and minimal. So I like the way we're having some urgency, and, we'll move around offensively, and the guys are all getting set. So all those processes that we have in place, the guys are doing a really good job.
All right. Continuing to hear from Coach DeBoer. Let's get one more clip in before we have to hit the break and come back with Casey Smith on golf. Maybe two, but let's try to get this one for now. Wyatt, on his biggest area of concern.
Probably just staying healthy, and again, I feel good about where we're at. This will be our biggest scrimmage. This will be the most plays that we run next week. We'll have a scrimmage too, but it won't be quite as many. It'll be solid, but just being healthy. We need all the reps. We have some veterans. There's no doubt about it. But we certainly have a lot of young guys that need to continue to develop and that are important. If they're not in the twos or if they're not in the ones, they're definitely in the two rotation. So those reps are invaluable to those guys, not just for them, but also the trust that it takes as a whole unit. So I think that's the biggest thing, just because our youth is, just kind of there around different position groups. But we'll just, guys doing a great job with their bodies. Anytime they have a chance, extra time, they're in the training room, doing a good job, in just before practice, after practice, doing what they should, being a pro, and those championship habits, you can see them really taking them and placing importance on them.
All right, well, let's get one more clip in. I want to get to, because we probably won't have a chance to play anymore after this. So let's get to the defense getting pressure, which is a very important aspect of what this defense wants to do.
Yeah, I think it was the threes really got a lot of pressure, of course. So I think you're more focused on the ones and twos. And I would say there's times when they got home and it was more of the real obvious pass downs. There was maybe two drives that I can think of, the one with the ones, one with the twos, where it was back to back and the offense got on their heels. But I also see the offensive line slowly coming together and just being in sync and understanding where their help is, so where it was at is kind of like the spring, where the offense is slowly starting to catch up to where they should be. But it's been a good, consistent pass rush, and I think a lot of that is strength in numbers. When the guys are out there, they're fresh on defensive line. They're competitive and trying to win a position and playing time. And so, the strength in numbers is really, really good for our whole unit, I think, defensively, especially up front.
All right, great stuff from Coach. Listen, I got Casey Smith on golf. coming up, and we're still going to try to get to some of the NASCAR audio jam-packed show this morning. But you're going to have to stay tuned for the whole show because Hugh Freeze is at it again. The wouldas, the couldas, and shouldas, man. He's going to be on Marty McGee's show, talking season coming up tonight on SEC Network, but excerpts are already getting out there. And, boy, I tell you what, I mean, I guess you'll just have to stay tuned, but I guess he's
a snap. Need to modify an order? No problem. So when it comes to food for work, make it easy on yourself with EasyCater. Start your order at EasyCater.com.
You see him on WVUA 23 covering sports and on Tider Insider TV on Tuesday nights. Don't miss a minute of the Gary Harris Show. Weekdays from 9 to 11 on Tide 100.9.
All right, 10:32. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show. And it's time for Casey Smith on golf, one of our favorite segments. And we love doing a golf segment. And Casey's been terrific since he joined us. Of course, Ian Thompson before him did a great job as well. But love talking golf. Good morning, Casey.
Hey, good morning, Gary. I hope you're having a great start to your Monday.
Yeah, we've had a good show this morning and just loaded with content right now. And we're going to continue it right now. Regular season is over. FedEx Cup playoffs are here. Let's get into that in a moment. But let's start. A lot of stories at the Wyndham Championship, obviously. But let's just, I want to get to Matt Kuchar. Obviously, when we get to the Alabama contingent, but let's just start with the tournament itself. And you and I have talked about this because you're a really accomplished player. You've been a college golf coach, so you know what it takes. And, and I'm a hacker and I get nervous. I've told you before when I'm playing poorly, I'm thinking about, especially if I'm playing in a little tournament or something, I'm worried about hitting people and all the things going through my head. But pressure is real even at the highest level. And we saw it yesterday, with Max Greiserman, who is, out of Duke and really talented player. He eagles a hole and I guess had a 4 or 5 shot lead at the time and then just melts down. Has a quadruple bogey, starts missing putts inside the leather, and Aaron Rai, who we know is really good too, two glove Aaron Rai, benefits from that. But this was beautiful and painful all at the same time. I mean, he holds out for that eagle from the fairway, backed it into the hole, and you're thinking, man, this kid's going to go on and this is just going to be a coronation.
And he birdied the next hole.
Yeah, birdies the next hole. And then just absolutely choked. I don't know. I hate to use that term in sports, but.
Yeah, he like birdies 1, pars 2, birdies 3, bogeys 4, eagles 5, birdies 6. He pars the next 3 holes. He turns at 31, so he's turning at -4. He's amassed, he pars the first 3 holes, 10, 11, 12. Then he eagles what you're talking about again on 13. And so he goes up 4 shots with 5 holes left, thinking you're gonna win. He makes an 8 on a quadruple bogey 8 on number 14. On 15, he birdies, he comes back. And then where Matt Kuchar, it sort of all goes hand in hand of what happened now that I've learned all of the little fine details. Matt Kuchar thought that they should have stopped playing after 15. And Max and I guess the other guy in the group wanted to continue on playing. And so he wanted to stop playing, and Kuchar wanted to stop playing essentially for them. He thought the younger guy, they needed to see how important this was. He thought that there was not enough sunlight to play then. And they were, if everyone out there didn't know, this golf tournament, due to the hurricane that just went through, they didn't play golf on Thursday. And so
at all. Yeah.
At all. And so really kudos to the whole tournament staff, field, and everyone else. They made up all of their golf Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And they were going to finish basically 4 rounds in 3 days, which never happens on tour. And they were all but assured a Monday finish prior. On Thursday, they were guaranteeing a Monday finish. On Friday, they were still saying they were going to finish on Monday. By the end of the day, Saturday, they're like, hey, we got a chance to finish on Sunday. Well, given that this is the last event before the FedEx Cup, players, caddies, everyone wants to finish if they can finish. And then not to mention the tournament staff, the maintenance staff.
That's who I feel really bad about. Yeah.
Terrible. But Max goes and makes a mess of himself. Aaron Rai comes from behind and actually wins by 2 because it's just how bad it was. I mean, he birdied 18 to win by 2.
Mm-hmm.
where it all goes crazy from there is Matt Kuchar, Max and the other guy go to finish. They want to finish 18 to get it in. They obviously throw up on themselves coming down the stretch. Kuchar's thought today was, if I stopped and played today and finished today, actually today instead of yesterday, it would hopefully show Max how important every shot is. And he felt like that he was not taking, he wasn't really taking account of everything that was on the line for him. Big picture. He thought he was rushing through it. I mean, anyway, that's Matt Kuchar's answer. I think it's tone deaf. I think it's lack self-awareness on all sides to not go ahead and finish if that guy's wanting to finish. It's not you to be the judge and jury. I can't believe that he did what he did. It's just silly, really. And I watched him finish out, and there was no one there. But, Max cost himself a chance to win. Aaron Rai, congrats to him. First PGA Tour win in 89 starts. He is the first player since 2013 to move out from outside of not being qualified for the Tour Championship to actually go inside on the last day and qualify for the Tour Championship, or for the FedEx Cup playoffs. So FedEx Cup playoffs starts this week, and Rai gets in with the win. So, a mess of a finish and then some drama from everyone in golf hating on Matt Kuchar for the decision. And I really agree. I mean, you can teach lessons in other ways. You can call the kid, you can do whatever you want, but for you to stop playing when you made $60 million on course and you're not going to make the playoffs has nothing to do with you at all. And actually, for the first time in 17 years, Matt Kuchar misses the playoffs.
Yeah, he had the longest streak,
He had the longest streak. So, I don't know, very selfish, I thought. He obviously was rubbed the wrong way by those guys finishing fast. I mean, and no one's talking about is Matt Kuchar hit into Aaron Rai already on 18. So then he decides to stop. Yeah, I mean, pretty crazy. Just really
Well, this is a guy who, he's got the smile, but didn't he stiff his caddy a few years ago?
He played. The guy actually caddied for me at the Mayakoba Resort where they play the tournament. He had caddied for me on my honeymoon earlier, and the guys with their best caddy, Matt Kuchar, goes to the Mayakoba for the PGA Tour event. He doesn't take his caddy because it was a fall event. He goes on to win, but when he got the caddy that was there, it was their best local caddy, he cut a deal with him for $5,000 for the week. Well, he goes on and wins, and so instead of paying the customary 10%, he gives him the $5,000. Then that guy sort of asked some of the other caddies, "Hey, isn't it customary you get 10% on a win?" And then it all blew up in his face, and then he winds up sending him the money anyway. Terribly bad PR. There's just lots of stories out there. The guy, he's really close friends with a friend of mine here, and he's lived in Atlanta at times or had a place, but he doesn't keep a permanent place here. And all you hear is all these great things, and then publicly, there's probably 10 things out there about him stiffing people and this and that, making just really unusual decisions. I mean, that yesterday is mind-blowing. The amount of money that would go to charity from the profits is eaten into because of the people they got to bring back and put in hotel rooms and all that
crazy.
Stuff just to run the event. Wild.
That's one of the worst I've ever heard. I mean, he went back out and played by himself this morning, one hole, basically, and everybody had to come back out as far as the tournament staff. Not all of them, but
to prove a point.
Yeah, it's crazy. All right, let's get to regular season. Real quick mention on Aaron Rai. We know he's got some talent. He didn't like he was going to win that tournament, but Greiserman melts down and he took advantage. Really nice win for him, obviously.
Yeah, Aaron Rai is a English. He played on the English tour. He's from England. Appears to, has an Indian heritage, wears 2 gloves. That was his first win on the PGA Tour. 7th professional win, but it's all been European Tour wins. He's obviously had a really good year this year, but he goes inside the top 30 with that win. So probably, the top 70 qualify for the St. Jude, and then the top 50 qualify for the BMW, and then the top 30 qualify for the Tour Championship. So we have 3 more weeks of this season left. And then, when you look at it from that perspective, Davis Riley, he moved up one spot from 72 to 71, but not enough to get inside the 70. And but we have Sepp Straka from Birmingham and JT and Nick Dunlap, two Alabama guys, in to really track. And Nick's at 67, so he'll need to have a really good week this week to advance to move up that many spots. That's probably a top 5 to 10, so that's something to really watch. They really update it live, and JT obviously will want to continue to improve his position so he can play in the last event. Probably very safe to the second event, but would need to improve, because there's going to be people playing well coming from behind him.
All right, let's get to Dunlap because JT sat it out. Like you said, he's in pretty good shape, high enough that he's going to be able to advance on. For Dunlap, I'm so glad he got in the top 70 because this is, again, as much as I felt like he shouldn't take the money if you're an amateur, my feeling is if you win a PGA Tour event and you turn pro, you ought to get those points. And then he was cruising. But he was right on the line, and then he missed the cut. And he missed the cut because this is who Nick Dunlap is at 20 years old. You and I know he's oozing with talent, and he's going to be great. But he's in pretty good shape on... Well, again, it's hard to track it because they only played 3 days, 4 rounds. But he missed
the cut by one. Yeah. He missed the cut.
And he had a triple bogey. He had 5 birdies, but that triple bogey 7 absolutely killed him, and that's his MO.
Triple bogey on his next to last hole.
Yeah, he just can't get through the round, it seems like, without that blow-up hole. If he makes the cut at, say, 5
he shot 3. He was 5 under par with 2 holes left and would have safely made the cut.
Yeah, and if he makes the cut at 5 under, he's got a chance, to shoot 10 or so over the 10 under or so.
Well, he would have, and he would have moved up just by making the cut. He moves up a few more spots that protects him, and I do agree with you on he should have been given the points on that win, even if you're an amateur, and I'm sure they're going to probably change that, given the other amateur that's playing so well and playing in the event, the Luke Clanton kid, who's the first player to ever finish inside the top 10 in 3 PGA Tour events while still an amateur. He did that this year, was solo 5th at the Wyndham. But when you take to your point, like if you win a tournament, you take the money. Luke Clanton's would have made a pile of money this year.
That's right.
Stayed amateur.
That's right.
So there's 2 sides of that and how it's going. Does it make it more? Do you add a lot more pressure by being a pro? And I just think, they're both 20. They're both elite players.
Yeah, I think you have to look at it too because the amateur golf is so good. Clanton was in contention again. You're going to have more amateurs start winning PGA Tour events, so they're going to have to look at how they do these points. But real quickly, let's handicap St. Jude. You go to Memphis. He usually is just absolutely brutal, but that city rallies around this tournament. St. Jude Hospital, we know how great it is. I love that this is a FedEx Cup Tour playoff event, and I think it's one of those events where, I've always felt like it has almost a feel of a major to me a little bit when they go up there since it's been a playoff event. I know JT won it a few years ago, and this is a really big time event in my opinion, and obviously there's a lot on the line.
There's a lot of money on the line. There's a lot on the line now. They've done a great job with FedEx being there, being the obviously title sponsor of this, putting a lot of money in. They get their due for putting up a lot of this money, and engage. They engage with I was reading 1,600 volunteers, and they donate around $7 or $8 million a year to St. Jude. So that's really cool. All the top players are in the tournament outside of on the PGA Tour. And, you're going to have to think that Scotty Scheffler's playing incredible golf. How do you not think that he's going to play well? Rory, Xander, they're all playing good golf. I mean, JT's won there. He's had a break. He should be, competing for this. This should be a tournament that I think that he can win if he plays well because, it's a horses for courses thing. Harris English has always played really well there as a sleeper pick. I think at the top of the food chain, I'm still rolling with the chalk and Scotty Scheffler until I see different. After that last back nine I saw him play, that looked like PlayStation golf. So I'd take Scotty or Rory with my sleeper pick, maybe Ludwig Aubert and Harris English.
All right. Sounds good, Casey. And we'll look forward to next Monday. And I would love to see JT and Dunlap be in contention. And who knows?
Well, I would say this. Lydia Ko, I met her last week as one of the two people I thought might win the goal.
Yeah,
she
get that in. Yeah.
And then I think we should have by next week, we should have a little bit of an update from Alabama's men's and women's golf team. They should be releasing their schedules this coming week. They haven't released those yet. So college golf is also around the corner.
All right, we'll look forward to that. Thanks, Casey.
Thanks, Gary.
All right, Auburn head coach Hugh Freeze. Well, by his account, he should have dominated Nick Saban. We'll have that coming up on the other side, and we'll try to get to some of that Joey Logano audio, maybe even Denny Hamlin. We may not have time for all of it, but we'll see. We'll be back after this.
Coming up on The Game with Ryan Fowler.
Coming up on the Monday edition of The Game, we're recapping scrimmage number 1 on the campus of the University of Alabama. Also, Fan Day will react to that. We'll talk to Drew DeArmond. We'll talk to Barrett Salee. We'll talk to Mark Houston and a lot more. Starting at 2 p.m. on The Game on Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
The longest running sports program.
Now through December 28th, Castrol Edge and Edge High Mileage Motor Oil are on rollback at Walmart.
Claim based on sequence dyne test under high-load conditions versus API SP test limits.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The sky will stay mostly sunny today, the high 92. For tonight, mostly fair with the low at 70. For tomorrow, partly to mostly sunny and hot. We'll mention a small chance of a shower during the afternoon or evening hours, the high 95. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
Alabama Crimson Tide lives right here.
Down to the pylon. Touchdown, Alabama.
On Tide 100.9.
All right, 10:50, get up against the clock, but Hugh Freeze is going to be on Marty and McGee's show, Talking Season, tonight on the SEC Network. Not to plug another show, but I have to get it in context. So here we go, Wyatt. And listen, Hugh Freeze has milked those 2 wins he had against Alabama for everything it's worth. I mean, I get it. But this is not a woulda and coulda shoulda game. It's a reality-based game. And here is what Freeze had to say to Marty and McGee. Nick is incredible. Quote, Nick is incredible, but I should have 4 wins against them. We beat them twice, and we had them 24-3 the third year, and I wasn't smart enough to slow it down. And then last year, it easily could have gone our way. We easily could have beaten him a few more times. Well, you know what? Every time Alabama's lost a heartbreaking Iron Bowl down there, they could have easily won it. They could have won the kick 6. They could have won in 19. That's rivalry games. I mean, at the end of the day, you add them up and you win them or you lose them. And that's why they're rivalries. And in the SEC, what Saban did was such an anomaly of blowing people out. That's not the way it is for most people. And yes, Ole Miss had 2 great wins, but let's talk about the 2 wins that Freeze had. 2014, that one could have gone either way, and it would have been. And in 2015, Alabama actually outplayed Ole Miss. That was a flukish game if I've ever seen it. So, I don't know. Wyatt, your reaction real quick. In regard, I know he's trying to give Auburn people some faith, and he went on to say about the game last year, 4th and 31, not winning that game sucked. It stunk. It was disappointing, hard, Freeze said. But at the same time, I didn't think our roster was as good as theirs, and it gave me even more confidence that Auburn can return to one of the top programs in the country pretty fast because we went toe-to-toe with them, and we should have won the game, truthfully. So it was a mixed bag of this is awful, but, man, we can play with them. Well, Brian Harsin played with them. Brian Harsin should have won that. Auburn should have won that game probably. That was more unlikely to go 98 yards with no timeouts than it was the 4th and 31. So it isn't about coming close.
No, it's not. I mean, if close only counts in horseshoes, hand grenades, and nuclear warfare, it doesn't count in college football. Hugh Freeze, he very easily could be, winless versus Nick Saban versus, having 4 wins versus Nick Saban. I mean, Nick Saban did not get caught very often. I still believe that if Alabama had started Jake Coker in 2015 over Cooper Bateman in that game, they don't lose to Ole Miss at home. And what does 2014 look like if let's say, Drake doesn't go down? He was, cooking at that point in the season. So what does that look like? Like you said, Brian Harsin ran with this Alabama team. If Mac, we can all play, if the if game, whatever, 2013, Adam Griffith, they decide, they don't give a second back on the clock and we go to overtime and Bama wins it. Okay, cool. 2019, Mac Jones doesn't throw a pick six off the back of Najee Harris. Bama wins it.
Flukish play is weird to play, pinned it against his back, and 14-point swing. You're right. I mean,
any play goes differently in that Iron Bowl in 2022 or 2021 with Bryce Young.
Oh,
and that game goes a different direction.
I thought Auburn outplayed Alabama more in 2021 than they did last year. That's the thing.
Alabama was rolling.
Those are rivalries. If you're an Auburn fan, every close game you're going to say you should have won it. And Alabama, if every close game that you didn't win, you're going to, you talk about, I remember 1997 when Ed System fumbles. The only way Alabama could lose the game was to turn it over there, and they did. I mean, it's just one of those things that, but I get it. What he's trying to point out is, hey, I can beat Alabama. Of course, it's easy to poke the bear now because Saban's no longer the coach there. But it's easy to say, I can beat Alabama. We should have beat them last year. We don't even have to have as good a roster. But you know what? You raise those expectations. Real quickly, have you got Joey Logano queued up? Let's hear Joey Logano last night after he got wrecked by Austin Dillon.
Go. Do you think this I don't know. Apparently it's okay. What do you want me to say? Apparently you can come from 5 car lengths back and completely wreck someone and then wreck another one to the line, and we're going to call that racing. Cool. That's fun. Yeah, they won't.
Did you think that was coming, Joey?
No, when you get like that far back ahead, I was 3 to 4 car lengths ahead into 3. I didn't even back up the entry. I was like, I just wrap the bottom here, I'm good. And he just drives in so hard. Obviously, he didn't make the turn because he hit me, and then the 11 was going to win the race. So he's a piece of crap. The kid, he sucks. He sucked his whole career, and now he's going to be in the playoffs, and good for him, I guess.
If NASCAR doesn't do something and you guys decide to maybe do something back, is that unfair?
Well, you're asking me and I just got out of the car. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. But I know it's ridiculous and you can't stand for it. I can tell you that much. I don't know what I'm supposed to do next. Obviously,
all right, there you go. And listen, his emotions are running high, but context is important. You heard him say it. They had a late restart. Dillon was on the preferred inside line, okay? Logano was on the top. Dillon got a terrible restart. You're on the inside line there, green-white checkered type of thing, overtime, you should win the race. Joey just clearly outdrove him, got in front of him, had the race won, and with no chance to pass, he just runs him up, drives into the corner and wrecks him. And then when he bumps Logano out of the way, Hamlin was going to beat him on the low side, and he hooked Hamlin and took him out. So he took out 2 of the top drivers. And get it. Listen, I've gone back and forth on social media with people. I get it. He goes from being a guy who's been running middle of the pack to back of the pack all season long. He's 30-something in points. He's got no shot unless he wins a race, and he's in the playoff. So I get why he did it. Now he's got to have to deal with the fallout because every driver out there took note of what he did. And it would be one thing if this guy had been competitive this year. I don't know. It just you go from 30th to end the playoff because you wrecked somebody. That's the kind of reaction you're going to get, and Denny Hamlin was not much kinder either. All right, that's going to wrap it up for the show. It's been jam-packed today. We appreciate you tuning in. Wyatt's coming up with T-Town Sports Daily at the top of the hour. Miller's Edge from noon until 2, and then Fowler will take you home with the game this afternoon from 2 until 6. Catch me on TV tonight with your local sports on WVUA 23. And back here tomorrow for the Tuesday edition of the Gary Harris Show. Have a great day, everybody.